allowed by law or a written policy. This allows us from being influenced by offers of outside employment in the exercise of an official power of performance of your duties, prohibits us from entering into contracts for the supply of goods and services, as well as contracts for the disposal of goods with the Parliamentary Service Commission, bars us from acquiring an interest in a legal entity that is party to a contract with the Parliamentary Service Commission, and restricts us from engaging in other gainful employment which is incompatible with our official duties, impairs your judgment in the execution of official duties, or results in conflict of interest. Additionally, the Act establishes an enhanced wealth declaration model that requires you to submit wealth declarations on a biannual basis to the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Committee under supervision of the ESCC. In this regard, I direct the clerk to urgently appraise members of the new modalities of submission of the initial declarations to ensure compliance within the prescribed timelines. As your Speaker, I unequivocally restate my commitment to ensuring that the dignity of the House is upheld as envisaged in the law. Out of all obligations imposed on the Speakership, I owe this most to the institution of Parliament and the people of Kenya. Honourable members, we also have the issue of House business, quorum hitches, and so on. Honourable members, moving on, the other area that requires our intervention, looking at the last 7 months, is the issue of quorum. I don't need to overstate this. I just encourage you, honourable members, that emulate. I don't know who here was in Parliament with Martin Shikuku. Farah Maalim. I don't think Kainan found Shikuku in the House. Martin Shikuku, on each and every day, the Speaker found him in the chamber and the Speaker left him in the chamber. And for the entire sitting time, you would never see Martin Shikuku go to have a cup of tea or even respond to a call of nature. He will just be seated there. And he's the one who made us change the standing orders of Parliament to restrict times of debate. Because Shikuku, on a bill, and without repetition, without being ruled irrelevant, would debate a bill alone for 2 weeks. So after question time, the Speaker would call, this bill is still continuing, and Martin Shikuku was on the floor. And he'll come and speak from 3:30 until 6:30, then you go away. The next day, this bill is still continuing, and the man on the floor was Martin Shikuku. And he would go on to the end of the day, and at no time would anybody find him repetitive or irrelevant. He made us change the standing orders to restrict times that we speak and to create committee system. I want to urge you, and I've talked to my majority and minority leadership, if all of us seated here behaved like Martin Shikuku, we would never have a quorum hitch in the House. I don't agree, I don't know who said here, that when you have a business as a chair, you must be in the House. As a chair, you must be in the House regardless. And if all of you are in the House, then all other members, because many of you, apart from very few, are first-timers. In fact, the only chairs of committees who are first-timers are less than 4. All the rest, you are second-timers, third-timers, and beyond. Please, let's avoid the temptation to give the public fodder to think that we don't work. Because every time the bell rings until it goes off and we go away, the media has a field day. You don't work, you don't care, you're lazy, I don't know what, all sorts of things they say. And then misinformation, disinformation, and fake news takes over. to do the damage that we have all been suffering from. So please, let's pay attention to issues of quarrel. And I want to encourage you, honorable members. I know you are now on home stretch. Each one of you is struggling to be re-elected, either in a different capacity or in the same capacity. But you can still manage your parliamentary business and juggle with your home constituency in which you are struggling to get your way back. Public participation is another issue. We've been struggling with the issue of public participation since the new constitution. And one entity that doesn't seem to understand what public participation means is the judiciary. And I've told Murugara and his team, Chepkonga and Otienda Molo, and the team that vetted the new Attorney General. You remember we asked the new Attorney General that we needed within a year to see a public participation law. From where I sit, we should not use public participation to squander public resources. If a bill is coming from National Assembly to the Senate, and you have carried out public participation, must the Senate do the same? I don't think so. And I can give you an example, those of you who participated in the sugar bill. I don't know if Emmanuel Wangu is here. The sugar bill was extensively taken through public participation by the committee. And the sugar growing areas are known. Kwale, Nyanza, Narok, and Western are now parts of Rift Valley. Kwale is coast. I started with Kwale. People in the villages were coming to me as your speaker saying, the committee from parliament, you know, Wananchi don't know the difference between parliament and senate, that we are all parliament. So they know you are parliament and that is senate. They say a committee from parliament came here and talked to us about sugar. And we all went there and gave our views. Now we see the senate is also here on the same thing. And we are the same farmers, we are the same people. These are some of the things that the bill we have received from the Attorney General. We also had a bill that had been drafted, was it by Chepkonga or somebody, that we must harmonize and pass this bill because over 70% of our bills have been struck out by the courts on the basis of public participation. And when I engage the Chief Justice, she says, where is the law that guides my judges as to the extent, depth of public participation? So I want us to take this as a priority, that in the next session after recess, in this session after the recess, we give this bill top priority. A bill emanates from the executive. A ministry carries out public participation. It comes to the House. We carry out public participation. It goes to the Senate. They carry out public participation. Somebody goes to court and says, oh, before they did it in the National Assembly, nobody went to the villages. That is why we have now innovated that your offices are our offices in all your constituencies and in all the counties for the women reps. So those are the centers of parliamentary activities in the outreach. That when we want public participation, we go to Kimilili, we go to Nyaribari, we go to Kilifi North, and talk to people through our offices. It's the depository of parliamentary documentation for Wananchi to respond. So once we finish this, because at all those levels, we are spending public money from the same envelope.
In the latest twist of Kenya's heated political theatre, National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetang'ula has unleashed a blistering rebuke against President William Ruto's bribery allegations in Parliament, and he didn't mince his words. Speaking in Mombasa during a retreat, Wetanng'ula dropped a biting metaphor comparing Ruto's claims to a hyena accusing its own children of smelling like goats before devouring them. The message was crystal clear. The Speaker believes the President's accusations are baseless, reckless, and dangerous to Parliament's integrity. Ruto had earlier alleged that an MP demanded Kenya shillings 10 million bribe during a heated debate on the conflict of interest bill. Yet he failed to name names, a silence that has only fueled outrage across both houses. Senators have now upped the pressure, demanding that Ruto be summoned to Parliament under Article 125 of the Constitution to present evidence. Some are even warning that if Speaker Wetanng'ula and Amason Kingi fail to act, impeachment proceedings could be on the table. Meanwhile, committee work in the National Assembly has ground to a halt, with MPs abandoning sessions in protest, urging that their reputations have been smeared by unproven claims. Adding fuel to the storm, rumors swirled online that the EACC was planning a raid on Wetanng'ula's current home, but the anti-graft body swiftly shut down the speculation, branding it false and urging Kenyans to ignore political misinformation. What began as a presidential remark has now snowballed into a full-blown showdown between State House and Parliament, as Wetanng'ula's rallies MPs to defend their honor and senators sharpened their knives for a possible clash with Ruto. The nation waits to see whether this will end with accountability in the House or a political earthquake at the very top. Follow us on all our platforms for real-time updates, in-depth analysis, and bold discussions that matter. From all of us here at Sauti Mzalendo TV, stay safe, stay engaged, and keep the conversation going. Until next time, keep believing in a better, stronger nation.